Hello and welcome back to the second part of our match. Today we are still dissecting that match between Netherlands and Afghanistan. Interesting match between the two teams rather, with Afghanistan, of course, betting right now. A new score just came in. But before we go into that, Tanya and I earlier on today tried to sort of like make predictions with Tasman as well. But everybody was actually on the fence, very safe as to who's going to win this match. But I think I was the bold one in saying that Afghanistan will actually want to prove a point and just make sure that they pull themselves towards that semi-final spot. But as we're seeing that New Zealand were bowled out just before the 50th run, what do you make of that whole first inning for Netherlands?
Um, Definitely speechless in the sense that I tried to give them the tips when we started during our prediction that if they have to bet first, that means they need to take their time. And let me just go through them quickly. Be patient, really. Play the slot late, avoid unnecessary runs, unnecessary risk. And coming to the innings, and we saw what happened in the first innings based on how they performed, which was a really shocker coming from a team which is more experienced. Because if you check out the way they were all taken out, it's one of those, they were mostly runouts. Those are necessary risks they were taking. They shouldn't have done such things. And they were less of actual wickets compared to the runouts. So it's one of those, they were just, they were under what to call this, panicking mode. I don't know
sort of
why,
under
but
pressure.
under pressure,
Thinking,
exactly. So that means Afghanistan was doing the right thing, because if they managed to create that kind of environment for the Netherlands, the Dutch, that shows they knew what they were doing. They were hitting the right lines, and they were patient enough to let them panic and then do those silly mistakes and manage to take them out. So it's one of those things. It's a good thing coming from the way Afghanistan is playing, but it's those silly mistakes which just led to cost the Dutch out.
Yeah, and of course, we also mentioned that the captain of Netherlands was very confident coming into that match, saying that there is absolutely no ways that Afghanistan will cause an upset, especially against them. But his stats not looking too shabby as well. He was run out 42 runs of 40 balls and 9 fours. Not too bad, but the overconfidence was definitely what the team needed. Looking at Mohamed Nabi as well, with 4 wickets, not too bad, and he just needs only 2 sixes to make it 100 runs for himself. Surely that is a record to chase, and he'll be looking to complete that chase in this chasing.
Well, like what you said right now, they know why they are there. Like the Afghanistans, they are not scared to put out the work out there and to make sure, even if they lose the game, they are making sure that their personal scores, they've been accomplished. So that's something power hungry to look forward to, and which is something everyone would want technically, because if you work as a team, you know you're comfortable. And whereas for the Netherlands guys, we're not crucifying them per se for having that confidence, because never know where it was going to take them. But that kind of mistakes now, it just got them into their heads. And I don't know how the bowling side is going to save them, because right now they scored less than the average runs, which is usually scored at that stadium. So now trying to defend 179, which is 180 technically, it's going to be harder for them. And that means the bowlers, they need to be now more accurate, less of those expenses which they're donating to the Afghanistan if they still want to consider themselves part of the top 7.
You say that it's going to be difficult chasing 180 for them. I would like to, I beg to differ on that one, because right now they're not looking too bad. At 66 for 2, all they need is 114 runs in over 30 overs. So for me, I feel like it's very doable when you still have, you know, you still have players who are looking to chase milestones. Like I said, Mohamed Nabi is still in there to win it. So I feel like it's not going to be a hard one for them to chase. So in this case, I will be giving it to Afghanistan and saying that they are now at this point just putting so much pressure on number 5, which is Pakistan, also just fighting for that spot in the semi-final. So it's very interesting how everybody now at the stage of the competition is putting their best foot in the game and just making sure that every day, every game that comes, they take it as it is. And if they do win this match, they're 2 points, they're going up. So we'll see how that one ends. But yeah, I think that's going to be an easy chase for Afghanistan this time around.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you in the sense that the run rate which they need, it's just 2.97 runs. That's what they need per over, and of which right now they're sitting on 5.65, meaning they're doing exceptionally well. So it's just going to be one of those, they'll get it so easily, and it will be more like a T20 match, never know. But hey, it's a 50 over. They've all the time, the number of goals they still have 38.2 overs. That's a whole lot. So that means if they're patient enough, take it one ball at a time.
Yeah.
And they don't need to rush themselves because they know they've got this, and they just create that partnership. Sure, it will take them far as much as they've won, but they don't need to make those same mistakes as well.
It doesn't have to be a T20 match like we've seen yesterday when that match between India and Sri Lanka ended. I do think that this match is definitely going to go just above 20 overs, maybe to 30th. But I feel like it's going to be an easy win as well for Afghanistan. For Netherlands, all they have to do now, their focus just has to be on that championship trophy spot. That's all they have to be playing for right now, because as far as things stand, they are out of the top 4 race. So I don't know if maybe I'm writing that or I'm just jumping to conclusions.
Well, if they win this match, it would literally take them to the borderline. They'll be number 7 because currently they are on number 8. Whereas for Afghanistan, it's on number 6. So if they win this one, they'll jump to number 5. So it's one of those, they are there but not there. But seems so far so good.
So far, so good. And of course, we'll be bringing in Tasman a bit later on in the show. Remember, yesterday we spoke to David Brooks, and he said that if your team is not performing as well as a coach, you just need to be harsh on them. And, you know, just do what you have to do and just put your foot down. And I know that in a match like this, he would have said to, you know, the Dutch guys, Netherlands, that yeah, I have to be preparing your farewell speech. but, but we'll see how that one goes. But for you, though, for Netherlands, in order for them to just remain in that championship spot, trophy spot, what do they have to do differently? Because they're coming from a win, coming into this one, potentially losing it. They will need to bounce back in order for them to make it to top 7.
The bowlers have to serve the team right now because they've no other choice. They can't rewrite or replay the same game. But now they need to make sure that they're grouping their balls well in the right length, and they know who they're playing against, and make sure they're being consistent along that line and being accurate when it comes to hitting the wickets or like the targeting part. So it's one of those, they now need to have more variation of the bowlers. And if you've noticed, Afghanistan came in with in that squad, they had 4 spinners, of which they knew that most of these players, they can't play against spinners. So now with Netherlands, they need to maximize with their seamers and their spinners somehow, just to shake up what's going on here. As much as they're coming out easily, they just need to break that momentum they're going with.
And this will obviously be historic for them.
Definitely.
Like we spoke earlier on today, that if Afghanistan wins, then this will be their 4th win in all World Cup editions. You know, in the last 2 campaigns, they've only managed to register 1 win. Coming into this one, a very huge confidence booster when you're beating the defending champions in England, and now you're beating a team that beat an on-form South Africa. Surely that will be a lot of confidence booster for them, and this will be their very first semi-final, should they make it to a semi-final. So surely that is big, not only for them but for the entire country. What would that even mean for them?
think that will mean a lot because coming from like a smaller squad in the sense that, like what Taz had said, they are just here to end their test match status,
Yeah.
meaning that if they can play with such teams which are like most, for example, let's say the seniors, it's a privilege, meaning they're learning a lot from what they're doing and trying to make sure the more games they get from being part of the World Cup, the more experience they'll gain. So definitely they know that if they win here, that means they've more gain time and they've more experience. So it's more of like they're looking forward for that growth as much as they would want to win that championship trophy.
And I mean, obviously, if the they win the match and eventually, win the remaining matches as well and get to that semi-final, I feel like that's as far as they can go in this competition. Because if you're going to be playing India in the semis or South Africa in the semis, then you just know that it might be the end of the road. But also, you never know with how these teams have been performing, especially
Yeah.
Afghanistan, just shocking the defending champions. So anything could be possible. Should they make it and play against the two on form teams in that South Africa and India, I think it's going to be interesting to see how that one would really just play out if it were to happen.
Yeah, for me, it's Pakistan and Afghanistan. It's one of the two. They definitely know. I know they'll try to make it into the top four for the semis and just cause that havoc. And they know that once the bigger team or like India or SA make that silly mistake, they are consistent. They're not scared of making those big risks. Unlike the Unlike SA, they would try to play it safe and see what's going on. Or India, okay, India might risk it. It's one of those for it call his strength. He can just swing it the ball. It's either he goes in with a 0 or 100. So he just maximizes on everything he does.
But why would you say that South Africa may play it safe? Are you saying that they would rest their key players in that match?
No,
How
not
would they
in
risk
that
it?
sense, but
Okay.
in the first power play, they wouldn't want to risk like hitting big boundaries most of the time. They'd rather stay in the key, just hit the ones and the twos and see how, like, analyze what's going on. Now, by the time they wake up, it's now in the second power play and the third power play. But if they've managed to read it early enough, sure, they'll do the damage as usual.
I feel like they would, especially if you partner Temba Bavuma with Quinton de Kock or Quinton de Kock and Makram. I feel like they will get you the big scores, especially in the first power play. But we'll see. That's if it even gets there.
Yeah.
So as things stand, it is a 71-2 in the 13th over. So not looking too bad at all. Tandy,
Yes.
overall, we just just to wrap things up with this match, and as we'll be giving live updates, I feel like this match is as good as done, and we already know who's winning this match. They seem to be scoring so many runs as I'm watching the live match right now. In the morning when we spoke, you and I, and we were just checking the win probability, which is what we do every single day, and check what Google says who's gonna win. When we checked it in the morning, it gave Pakistan a beautiful win with, I think it was 78, and it's turning it to, I feel like it's turning to be that way. Of course, Afghanistan, I feel like this match is already done. We know who's winning this match, and Afghanistan is winning that match. I know that you do agree with me on that one.
Definitely, I am agreeing with you. But what I'm seeing right now is the way Afghanistan is playing. Is they're not scoring enough runs as partners because their partnership scores are quite low compared to what Netherlands did. Their highest partnership score, it was 69 of 63 balls. And so
Yeah.
far, the way Afghanistan is just playing, yes, they're scoring the runs, they're just being consistent. So it's one of those, the first pair, they are going to score 27 runs of 33 balls. The next pair is 28. So they're ranging around that area, the 20s. Unlike the Netherlands, guys, they're trying to stay there even longer. So it's a tricky one right there. It shows, yes, they might win, but that partnership, then it's not being built up to be strong enough anymore.
Yeah, which is going to be a problem then. But so we're going to be bringing in Tasman, who's going to be taking us into deeper details of, the stats that's happening, everything that has happened, leading to what the game is right now. New Zealand, Netherlands been bowled out so early on in the match before they reach the 50th over. So Tasman will be joining me right now, and then Tandi, you and I are going to conclude the chat just after talking to Tasman. And I'm going to give you this that you need to think about, what we always do towards the end of the show, which is, we talk about who's going to win by how many points and how many runs. So we're going to be doing that.
Okay.
Tasman is joining us right now, and just to talk about, just a continuation of that conversation I had just now with Tandi. And now we're getting into the technical side of things, into depth, to know what happened, what went wrong for Netherlands. Tasman, What went wrong for Netherlands?
Yeah, just a run out is a criminal way to come out in the game of cricket. You got yourself wondering whether it was a run out because of miscommunication, or was it simply just a pressure built up moment based on the fact that they weren't getting the ball to the boundary for once. Twice they actually weren't even getting the ball out of the circle or hitting gaps. So you get the plain point where batsmen now are just looking for a run.
Yeah.
They're looking to put pressure back on the field and take it on. But then again, you need to be smart about it. You need to get to a place where you pick who your fielder is. Not a lot of the times we've seen Rashid Khan fumble a ball out in the field. So I'm not entirely sure what was the thinking behind guys hitting straight to mid on, mid off, and just taking off. For me, it was very bad. You do it once, it's a mistake. You do it twice, maybe miscommunication. But 4 times is just a lot.
It's just wrong, and it is costly as well. So what are your impressions of that first inning for Netherlands?
Yeah, I think it's one thing to win the toss and opt to bowl, holding a team sheet in your hand that contains 4 spinners. Afghanistan are my wild card. They've just kept doing things that are crazy this World Cup. They've defied the basic means and the basic art of how the game should be played and what it should be done. Again, last night we seen India come in. Seen Rohit Sharma have 3 slips back behind the keeper. That's a test field set. But he did it knowing that what was on offer from the surface and what his seam bowlers could actually give him. So I think, Netherlands probably lost it at the toss for me. You don't exactly look to come in and bat first against a team with 4 spin bowlers on a track that has the history of offering an assist to spin bowlers. Maybe they should have given their guys like Aryan Dutt and them a fair chance to be able to come out and see what they can do and back their batting and be able to chase down the score. From there, it's just one-way traffic of everything just going down the wrong road. I felt like they were running around and they didn't have a clear map of where they were going to. 4 run-outs is criminal in any stage of the game at any level of cricket. 4 run-outs is just too much.
It's a whole mess. Tandy, I don't know if you have any more questions, but before we come to you, you mentioned that you don't win a toss and elect to bat first. What do you think that's where they actually lost the match to Afghanistan?
I think when you get to the toss, you're given team lists.
Yeah.
Captains exchange team lists, and they get a chance, they get a glimpse of what they're going to be facing up against on the day. And I'm not sure. I'd like to have a chat with Scott Edwards and know what was going through his mind when he accepted a team list with 4 names on the team sheet that were prime time spin bowlers. We've seen that they've gone and they've done things. Maybe he looked at guys have been overlooking Rashid Khan because maybe people have adjusted to the way he bowls and people have adjusted to pick up certain deliveries. But he wasn't the only name on that list today. True. He was backed by Mujib. He was backed by 3 or 2 other spinners as well besides Mujib. And automatically in my mind, I'm thinking, did he weigh out the fact of the comfort levels that his batsmen alone have against playing spin? If you look at their first 10 overs in the power play, they went for 66 runs with a loss of 1. That's been the perfect template of a first power play inning score. Yeah. But then they go on from there. They left from a place of 79 runs for the loss of 1 wicket to end up at 179 runs. That all out, for me, that's crazy. Because I looked at them at a point in the game where they were 120 some odd runs after 25 overs. And in my head, 25 overs, the next 25 overs, if they get another 125, they're sitting on the 250 mark. Yeah. But then you have 2 run-outs happening in 1 over. 3 overs prior to the over where they had 2 run-outs. They had another run-out before that.
So that's in the space of like
in 12 balls they had lost 3 wickets. And that's crazy. That's insane. Like, I give full credit to Afghanistan for making their own plans, for being unorthodox and sticking to it and backing themselves up as well.
Speaking of Afghanistan, I mean, there is a guy that was just on form and currently will be betting, that being Mohammad Nabi. What do you make of his performance, just in the bowling department?
Yeah, so one thing I'd like to point out for you guys is that Mohammad Nabi is one of those extremely experienced players,
Yeah.
At the start of this World Cup campaign, Afghanistan had played a total of 155 matches. And Mohammad Nabi had played 150 of those 155 matches.
Yeah.
So that just tells you with the wealth of knowledge that he comes to the game with as well. And he's one of those guys that you can have in a team, whether he's wearing the captain's armband or not, he literally is a leader on the field. Yeah. He'll literally have something that's valuable of input to always be able to share with the guys, with the team. He's seen the game evolve from basic, typical 50-over cricket to the unorthodox cricket that's been played today. So I expect nothing from you. You know, he hasn't really got firing with the ball or with the bat. He comes in, he's a big hitter by nature.
Yeah.
That's his job. Hence the reason why you find him somewhere down in the middle order. He is your typical finisher. And he hasn't really been at par standards to what we used to of him. But I believe it's because he gives more input these days as his knowledge of the game, as opposed to just contributing with bat or ball as well. So it's great to see him come out today and be within the wicket-taking ranks for me personally.
Yeah, and of course he will be betting. How do you think his betting will be this time around? He just need only 2 sixes, to reach his milestone of 100 sixes.
Yeah, I don't think as a player, I'll speak from a personal perspective. You know what milestones are probably weighing above your head and the possibility of getting this and getting that. But it's not something you step onto the field thinking of in your mind, because at the end of the day, then you start deriving personal plans ahead of team plans.
Ooh.
And it's a team game at the end of the day. If you find the time within the team strategy and the team requirement plan to be able to achieve personal milestones, that's perfect. But the moment you get it into your mind that I need 2 sixes and I've got 100 ODI sixes, you're going to play the shot to the wrong ball. You're going to look for the 6 to the wrong ball.
Yeah.
But if you go ahead saying, look, I'm playing the game, my team are currently at a position where we need 200 runs or whatever the case might be. If it comes in my zone, I'm going to do what I know how to do best, and I'm going to hit the ball. Hit the ball, take that breath, remind yourself, that's 1 down. I got 1 to go. But the game is going on. The game still requires me to be able to bat deep and not actually lose my wicket chasing a personal milestone.
So collective work over personal milestones.
Any day.
Any day and every
Any
day.
day.
But of course, in a situation like that one of yesterday, Sri Lanka, in that case, there were certain players who needed to reach their own milestone and that game was already lost. So in that case, surely that's when you can actually think of your personal milestones.
Yeah, I come from one of those cricketing nations that tends to be overlooked a lot. And you find in nations like that, Afghanistan, the likes, alongside, any team that's an underdog at any given stage has a strong belief mentally that the game is not over until the last ball.
Yeah.
So whether you come in and 9 guys are out already before you, or 8 guys are out before you, you have 1 wicket in hand and you need 100 runs, that's that point in time when champions are born. That's the point in time that leaders are born, when guys are able to stop, stand, put their hand up and say, look, I know no one at the top managed to do it, but I'm going to do the best I can to get there. I just need the guy on the other end to just stop and support me. And I'm gonna hit these 100 runs for the team right now. I'm gonna take them over the line. And you find when you get a player that's experiencing that moment and feeling those feelings, that's when character is built. That's when grit comes into play. And you find getting to personal milestones. I'd like to point it out even for you right now. Virat Kohli right now at this stage, he used to be the guy that chases personal milestones. You've seen on a day when everybody put him under pressure, talking about how he's 100 away from Sachin Tendulkar's record, how he came out with the duck. It's been splashed all over media. It's been splashed all over tabloids. Whether he's not personally looking at it, it's been thrown in his face, left, right, and center.
And it gets to him.
You have him coming out last night in that game. I highly doubt it was something playing on his mind last night. He was sitting in a position where they had lost Rohit, their captain. He is the vice captain. He needed to step up to the plate and lead.
Yeah.
And that's what he did last night for me. And he still literally got within that milestone as well. Yeah. And that's where we say it's a team game. If someone falls, the greatness of it is we still have 10 other guys being able to pick up the slack. It just goes down to responsibility at the end of the day.
So we shouldn't just down it down to individual brilliance. Tandy, over to you.
I just have this one big question. What do you think was in the Netherlands players' mind, in the sense that they saw how others were coming out with the runouts and they still did the same thing? What would be really happening there? What would you be thinking?
I'm still a bit confused about what was going on in the dressing room today. I want to chalk it up to a bit of nerves, but you can't say that when they've overcome giants like South Africa.
Yeah.
And I have no entire perspective on it, to be honest. Like I said, I'd like to get into their dressing room and have a chat with a couple of guys and find out what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's cricket's a silly game. Cricket is it's mental. It's more mental before it even becomes physical.
Yeah.
And I think just the pressure, there's, before you even step on the field and think of the fact that we want to make a semi-final, we want to stay within the top 8, there's already scoreboard pressure on the fact that you need to put runs on the board. You need to give your bowler something to be able to come out and bowl to and be confident bowling to as well. You need to be able to, as batsmen, if you win the toss and you pick to bat first, you need to put a reasonable score on the board, knowing the fact to say that we're giving our bowlers a fair chance to be able to come out and try their variations, to try and mix up their lines, to try and bowl their short ball, and probably get it creeping up on batsmen and creating chances. But yeah, 4 run-outs. I'll keep mentioning this. That is just craziness. And I know personally at home that's like punishable by jail time, possibly in my home coach's mind. You know, where I come from, the small city I come from, like 1 run-out is acceptable, but when you have 4 going on, it becomes a case of, as a team, did you agree about the fact that we're playing tip and run cricket today? What's going on with the situation? Okay, fine, we understand. Maybe they didn't exactly have a good timing of the ball, because the idea behind it was there to say drop and run, hit the ball as soft as possible in a gap or just ahead of a fielder and run. But they were literally hitting the ball hard enough to have it flying to mid on, mid off, and just taking off. So I'm not entirely sure what the thought process could have actually been today.
So would you say those are the main key areas they need to improve on, or there are certain other areas which we couldn't really pick out, or which is known behind the scenes that they need to work on in the upcoming games?
Yeah, you know, I think for the Netherlands, you can't say that it's a common issue in their dressing room, because we haven't seen them come out this way in the World Cup. We haven't seen them have as many run-outs. So that's how it is. Days are not the same. The game changes. Every day is a different day. Same game, different mental patterns, different mental thinking, you know. I think probably if they go about their business the way they did up front in the first 10, they rotated strike well enough for me. They pounced on anything that was in with hitting zones, or they created the hitting zone by getting out and actually moving down the track. If they kept that same momentum going, and when it gets tough, you know, they say when the tough gets going, that's when your true colors actually show as a team. You know, it's 50 over cricket. You do get those periods where you face 2 or 3 maiden overs in the middle period, and that's okay. It's not T20, because you have the time to be able to come back out and catch up at the end of the day. I think maybe they rushed their game today a bit much. Maybe they try to rush and get off on it before anything actually started getting on for them. Get going, get the momentum going, try and build something meaningful. And the only way you can do that is to keep the scoreboard ticking. The only way you can do that is to push the 1s and 2s before trying to move the big shot.
You keep mentioning in your points that this game was more mental for Netherlands than it was for Afghanistan. Would you then say that they lost this match mentally before stepping onto that field?
I think they might have put a lot of pressure on themselves as well. You know, listening to a couple of interviews from different players, you know, ahead of this match, and as well as prior to previous games they've played, they've told themselves that they're here to book a place in the semi-final. When they started this tournament, they told themselves they're here to be a competitive team. They're not here just to mark register and be counted as participants, but they're here to be a competitive team. Then they got to a stage where now they were here chasing a semi-final spot. So mentally, maybe they did put more pressure on themselves than necessary.
Yeah, true. Definitely. Like I always say, it's all about in the head most of the time. Before you start playing your game, you need to visualize how it's going to go along, and then up to the end. And also one more thing, the other question I was thinking about is, what are the key moments, would you say, in the match, like which is going now right now so far from the Afghanistan side, like which swung in their favor?
I'll let you know a bit of a secret. Every team walking on the field looks to get at least 2 run-outs per innings. They got 4. That's a big game changer for me. That's where they got it. Anybody else after the first 2 run-outs already had it in their minds that there was something going on. It's not a case of when you have guys being bowled or you have guys coming out LBW that you question the pitch. A run-out is a big game-changing moment, because you chalk it up just to great fielding. Bowlers coming, bowling great lines, bowling tight lines, but being backed up by their fielders. Creating chances where there were no chances available. That for me was game-changing.
Definitely. And what would you say right now would be like an advice for the Netherlands guys? Because currently Afghanistan is sitting on 100 for 2 in 18.3 runs. So what are they supposed to do, like, to turn what's going on right now to be in their favor?
You know, I think they need a Hail Mary at this stage. They did want to create those chances that they'd want to create those chances that Afghanistan created. You know, start making things happen instead of waiting for things to happen, because it is a very small total. But in the same sense of trying to make things happen, they need to be sure that they're not over trying and getting to a stage where they're overcompensating, or they're messing it up because they're trying too many things. It's a hard stage to be at in the game, you know, just 79 rounds left to defend, 80 rounds left for them to win. And you have to wonder, do they go from bowling wicket to wicket to bowling more shorter balls, more variation balls, or do they now try and start saying, look, I know Ariane, you're an off spinner or you're a leg spinner, and you can come in now and you can start bowling some offies. Let's hit them with the element of surprise. Or Van Meeken, you got the height, come in and hit the deck hard. But what are you gonna do if they've been pulling well enough?
Let's talk about yeah.
Yeah, definitely go on.
Let's talk about the two teams. Obviously, we've spoken about how Afghanistan are just now looking to make that semi-final spot. However, it's not going to be easy for them. You've got a Pakistan who are also looking to just making into the top 4. You've got New Zealand as well, drowning there, but trying to hold on to things. And on the other hand, you've got a Netherlands, whom by the looks of things will not be able to even make it to the semi-final spot. But they do have a chance to make it to the knockout stages. What do the two teams have to do differently to improve their chances of, respectively making it to the semi-final and the knockout stages?
Yeah, definitely. So, for Afghanistan, obviously, they go up to 8 points with this win. But it's not just about the fact of sitting on 8 points, which means they will be tied with New Zealand as well. But they need to win it and win it well enough to be able to leave the questions in the mind of the New Zealand players as well, whether or not their net run rate. So they need to win it today in the least possible amount of overs, with the maximum wickets in hand as well. That then increases their chances and their net run rate of going up. That causes some drama. I love
you love drama. You love drama. We've seen it from the first day that we started talking that you are on the dramatic side of things. And I mean, we also love a bit of drama and a few upsets here and there. It makes things more interesting, unlike being able to predict what's going to happen. I feel like that is a very boring way of doing things, just everything being very predictable.
So it looks good on the table, for them to answer your question about the Netherlands, it's not the end of the road, not making it to the semi-finals, but they need to finish well enough to find themselves within the top 8 places. I think it'll be super interesting, to find the only European side in England not even finding themselves in the Champions Trophy, going from being World Cup champions to not even managing to be within the top 8,
not even
to play a Champions Trophy, having to go through championship qualifiers again. That would be it.
That's a mess. That's a mess. And then as a player, like, is there a way of ever healing from that? I understand that teams do go through fluctuations and things happen, but from being a world champion to not even making it to a semi-final, even worse, not even qualifying for the championship trophy. That's worse for me. How do you heal? How do you even heal from that?
I think it's one of those things where, as players, not just as a team, do they need to dig deep, find out where they went wrong. Usually pointing fingers and trying to put blame on anybody doesn't help anything. It starts for you as a player to inspect yourself, deal with yourself first, dig deep, find out what you could have done personally better as a player, and then go ahead and find out what you could have personally done better as a player within a team. And then sit down as a team together and figure out where you went wrong and what you could have done better as an entire team on a whole. So it takes a lot of soul searching. But I don't think it's the end of the road. This game has a great lifespan. I've currently been on the set for quite a while myself, and I've experienced my fair shares of ups and downs, definitely. And I think it goes down to you as an individual as well, digging deep and asking yourself, how badly do you really want it? You've had a taste of what's at the top, and are you willing to just let it go?
But is it all about that sometimes? Sometimes you can say, yeah, I really want this as much as I did the last time, but things are just working against you. The odds are just all against you.
Yeah, it's a game at the end of the day. You need to stop and realize that it's nothing life or death about the entire situation. And, as athletes on a whole, all you ever dream about is playing for your country. All you ever dream about is taking your country to the highest stages of the game. And it's very important for you to constantly remind yourself that it is just a game. And the point in time that you feel like it's done, it's over, we finished, you're forgetting that the reasons why you probably personally started playing this game is to have fun, to have a great time, to travel the world, to see, to learn different cultures, to meet different people, and play on any platform available to you. So start again. Go back to the days when you were doing well and see what was the reasons why you were doing well. Where was your mind at in those instances? And just remind yourself, it is a game at the end of the day, and it's something you play. It's not what dictates you. You dictate what happens when you walk on the field at the end of the day.
I mean, they still have 4 more years to plan against for the next one, and we'll see how that one goes. Tani, wrapping things up, I don't know if there's any more questions that you'd like to ask.
More like a statement. I just realized something that this is not the first time Netherlands has put such stunt of having 4 run-outs in the inning since 2011 in the World Cup. Because what I'm seeing here, it's saying it once happened when they're playing against Bangladesh in 2011. They had 4 run-outs and it's Netherlands. When they were playing Ireland again, 2011. That happened, and now against Afghanistan 2023. Do you think it's now like a habit, or it has to happen either way?
I don't think it's something that would necessarily have to happen, but it's something they as a team and as a technical team on a whole need to dig into and find out what goes on in that instant, what goes on in that moment. Because probably in those past years, I don't believe in entire history saying that it dictates what's happening, because teams change, the game evolves as well. They are a better team than they were in 2011, that's for sure. So I definitely want to find out what I think the technical team themselves would want to find out today. What went on in their minds. Exactly. What went on in their minds at that time, because players would have probably changed. Technical teams had probably changed. So they want to find out what was the instance of that game. Did they bat first? Did they bowl first? What was going on? Why would they start running out? Look at the game footage. That's the joy of technology these days. You can take back as far as possible. As long as it was televised, you will find it somewhere on the internet. Look at what the situation was at hand. Look at today's situation at hand and try and understand. Because, like I said, pointing fingers and blaming each other never fixes anything at the end of the day. You need to understand what caused the problem to happen and then try and figure out, okay, how do we do better? It's always constantly about improving and never dwelling on what the problem is for too long. Deal with the problem, find out what the problem is, decide these are the options that we're going to go about to get rid of whatever it may be that keeps finding us in the same position over and over again.
I mean, you're very right that teams do change, and obviously there are new coaches sometimes. However, whether teams have changed or not, sometimes these things remain the same. Like we're seeing here with Netherlands, things have remained the same. A lot of people might say the same about, South Africa not being able to make it out of the semifinals. If the same is to happen this time around, then what would we say the problem is? Why do they keep, I don't like using the word choking, but why do they find it so hard to move past semifinals? If, this is a very different squad. We spoke about this yesterday, that this is a very new, young blood, and they should be able to make it through. But if they don't, there is that stint that this thing has been happening for quite a very long time now.
Yeah, we believe as players, when you step onto a field, you're not just playing against 11 people in front of you, but there's the 12th man. And I don't mean the 12th man being the guy that's wearing the bib and running the water. There's always the fans. There's the 13th man in the crowd, and these days the internet is as good as a player. Social media is as good as a player. And, it's small things, it's small thoughts that you have floating in the back of your mind as well. Maybe it was floating in the changing room today in Netherlands. Maybe it was a joke passed over the past couple of days, and it just had a few people thinking. But I entirely chalk it up to good bowling from the Afghanistan team today. Maybe I would like to actually dig in myself and review the footage from past years and see how those games went. Maybe I can give you a better answer in that instance. But today I definitely believe it was between the scoreboard pressure as well as great bowling from Afghanistan and just too many dots that led them to want to make things happen as opposed to be patient about it and wait for things to start opening up a bit better for them. I think they could have possibly played later in certain instances and hit gaps or use their feet a bit more up front to be able to look for the single, to force the gaps to open up. So, I don't believe that because something happened in 1982 and it's happening in 2013 that there's some relative information. There may be something in there, definitely, but it's you can't put the sins of my great-grandfather's uncle's father's grandfather.
But
bring them into today,
but what are the chances of you inheriting whatever habit that they have into this?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And as we look at the scoreboard right now, we are currently on 121 for 2 in 20.4 overs, and they just need 59 runs from 29.2 overs. Seems like we're going to have an early day today.
Yeah, any night. It
Definitely.
seems. So that game is over pretty much. So I don't know. In wrapping up, what do you guys think went right? If there's anything that went right at all for Netherlands today?
Yeah, probably just a key partnership for them. They've shown
Mhm.
themselves that they have the ability, to form partnerships. They have
Mhm.
guys like Max O'Dowd been able to stand up and stick his hand up and build a partnership with Colin Ingleberg at the top, and then just say, look, I can soak up the pressure, guys. I got
Mhm.
this. Regardless of the fact that he came out in the 40s, he
Yeah.
stuck up his hand and he said, look, I can soak up the pressure and I can try and rebuild. But then obviously things just went a bit south from there on after.
Mhm.
That's where we are packing it for today, and we will be back tomorrow again, as usual. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be
For
back
sure,
again
baby.
tomorrow.